Good morning. It is the first day of February of 2025, and it's time for us to talk technology on the Experts program with our tech expert, Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group. Luis, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Mark. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about today. One of them is about Deepseek, which is a Chinese AI startup that has really got a lot of people concerned. What is Deepseek, and why is it really causing a lot of people to say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah, if you think back to 2 years ago, almost to the day, when ChatGPT burst on the scene at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, everybody was talking about what the heck is this thing? And so fast forward to 2 years later, generative AI in the United States has become kind of a everyday phenomenon. We have it in our phones, we have it on our computers, and there's billions of dollars being spent to develop better AI. And all of a sudden comes this Deepseek, an AI startup from China that's based in China that suddenly claims that they have developed a generative AI engine that is as smart as OpenAI's GPT-4 or ChatGPT as we know it, Meta's Llama, and even Google's Gemini, but for only $5.6 million. So immediately exploded on the scene a couple of weeks ago, caused the stock market to get rocked. In fact, NVIDIA, which makes the super expensive microprocessors that are used by all the AI companies, their stock dropped by $600 billion.
Wow.
Which, I mean, when you think about it, when you say the words, it just is mind-boggling that they're worth more than that, right? Because they could lose that much money. Because all of a sudden, everybody started questioning the model that American companies have been using to build these AI engines, spending billions of dollars. And some of the companies like Microsoft and Facebook are even talking about buying nuclear power plants to use to power the massive data centers that are required to process these generative AI engines. And all of a sudden, this little startup from China saying, yeah, we can do the same thing, but for a fraction of the cost, made a big impact.
Wow. And it says here, it's quite shocking because when you consider the U.S. has worked for years to restrict the supply of high-power AI chips to China, and then China is supposedly able to achieve its low-cost model on relatively underpowered AI chips. But I guess that would beg the question, how robust would their AI program actually be with those underpowered chips?
Well, so one of the things that Deepseek has done is that their engine is available online. You can go to Deepseek on the website. You can even download the apps on your iPhone or Android phone, and it's free to use. It's open source, which means that they're not restricting anybody from kind of tinkering with their engine. And it's a whole different model than the for-profit model that the United States AI companies have been building. So it's right now something that is causing a lot of consternation. But one word of warning for people that want to play with Deepseek, and I would encourage those that are interested to do that. But keep in mind that Deepseek is based in China. All of their servers are in China, and the Chinese government has laws that say they can ask for information, any information from any company, private or public, and they have to give it to them. So if you're going to be playing on Deepseek, make sure you don't put any sensitive information or ask questions that can somehow compromise you or your security.
Okay, that's good to know. All right. Anything else we want to know on that before we move on to the next story?
No, just like I said, be cautious when you're using it, but I encourage everybody to at least poke their fingers around there.
Speaking of Chinese technology and being cautious with it, we have another cautionary tale, and this is that after TikTok, the Wi-Fi router in your home may be the next Chinese tech ban target. What on earth is going on here and why?
Well, so there's a company called TP-Link, and they make a lot of electronics, some of the most popular electronics that you can buy online or in stores. And they also make routers, Wi-Fi routers that act as firewalls that you can connect up to your Comcast modem or your AT&T Uverse, whatever you have for internet access. And they're very, very popular. But there's a concern about TP-Link because it is a Chinese-owned company, and they have been suspected of being used to spy on Americans and gather information and send that information back to folks in China, although the company itself says that they're separately owned from the company in the TP-Link that is in China. They're based in California. They make their routers in Vietnam, not in China, but there's still a lot of suspicion. So the U.S. government is actually proposing to ban TP-Link sales in the United States, which would be a big deal because they represent a significant portion of the electronics that are sold in the U.S.
Wow. So this is the routers that you have to be concerned about, correct?
Yeah. So that's the primary concern. But obviously, if you ban the routers, there might be banning other technologies technologies that they sell. But they have a 65% share of the U.S. router market. So it's a big portion of the consumer market.
So is that 65% all TP-Link, or are those like private label brands that TP-Link is building the routers for somebody else, then putting their name on it?
These are TP-Link routers. Now, some people buy, there are some companies that buy TP-Link routers that they do white label it, but the TP-Link name is still on the serial number tag that's attached to the router.
Okay. And I'm just, speaking of TP-Link, I'm just looking here and say, do I have any TP-Link equipment? And I do. I have a TP-Link dumb switch. It's a little 5-port dumb switch. And a dumb switch, as you know, Louis, that's just a conduit that my internet goes into one of the ports on the switch, and then it allows me to spread that internet out over 4 more devices. So is that something I need to worry about?
Not the switches. Routers are really the thing that are the most concerned because they communicate on the internet. They are connected to the public internet as an interface to your home. And that's the concern, is that any information that cuts through the TP-Link can be sent to China if theoretically they wanted to know.
Okay, so they're not necessarily following what you and I are doing right now.
No, I hope not. Yeah, I have no TP-Links at home, so I'm in good shape. But
what do you recommend for a router? If somebody says, hey, I don't want one of those Chinese routers on my home network, what would you recommend to people?
I would suggest looking at Netgear. They're a really good company. They're US based. The prices are comparatively the same, so you're not going to spend a lot more money. But Netgear has really good devices, and there are a few others out there as well.
Great advice from Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us today on Power Talk Radio. Online, alvareztg.com. At AlvarezTG is the X handle. And Louis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.
And looking ahead to Monday, we're talking about it being tax time.
It is tax filing season, and we're going to talk about how you can file your taxes online for free.
All right. Thank you, Louis, and we'll chat again next weekend. And, of course, Monday morning starting at 8:30 here on Power Talk Radio. Thanks again, Louis, and have a great rest of the weekend.
You too, my friend. Enjoy.